So listen up, y'all. I'm trying to give y'all another warning. The Washington Post just reported that Donald J. Trump shut down the Civil Rights Justice Department. Yes, the Civil Rights Justice Department. So these are the guys who looks over the police officers. If some wrongdoing that happened or whatever the case may be. So this is part of the police getting immunity. Okay? So I'm trying to tell you guys, stay out of the way. See, listen, you got kids that's out here doing crazy stuff in the streets or doing anything that allows them to have contact with the police. It's going to get real ugly for them. All right? Look, it's going to get real ugly for them. So I'm advising y'all to make sure y'all get a hold of your family and keep them out of the streets, okay? Because there's no more civil rights department, okay? Donald Trump closed it down. The Washington Post just reported. So that's my warning to you guys. Listen to me.
He's using the cartel to draw a major conflict between the two nations. He wants to use that conflict to stir more hatred towards Mexicans and Latinos overall here in the United States. He wants to win over more people when it comes to his hatred towards Hispanics. And the best way to do that is to stir conflict between a major Latino country. If this ends up happening and he puts boots on the ground over there to hunt down the cartel, and there happens to be American casualties, expect the American population to turn on you. At this point, legal status is not going to matter anymore. It won't matter if you were born here or naturalized. To them, you're just going to be another Mexican enemy, and will be treated as such. Remember what happened to all the Arab folk after 9/11, or all the hatred the Asian community got because of the situation with COVID. Trying to stir up this conflict is the best way for him to get, the push he needs from the American populace in order to pursue his hatred towards Latinos. This is a man who's built hatred towards the Hispanic community for over 10 years. Let's not forget the whole basis of his campaign was initially targeting Hispanics. It's been his clear motive since day one.
On Thursday, ICE detained American citizens, a military veteran, and one of my colleagues and her son, who is 8 years old. Now, my colleague and her son are Black American citizens. They have Jamaican ancestry. They were detained for over 24 hours. That's how long it took us and lawyers to get them out of ICE detainment. And the son now has extensive trauma, and they are Black Americans. I'm not sitting this out. I just said in another video, I'm not sitting anything out because our community is going to need us. Black Americans were detained. That means they're not going after just people who are illegals, as you want to call them. They're going after whoever they can. And the 14th Amendment was an amendment that gave Black people birthright citizenship that were descendants of slaves. So if that is repealed and they go after one group, who do you think they're going after next? I'm not sitting anything out. Not when my community is going to need me. I'm not going to do it.
Shalom. I would like to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim, pushing this word across the four corners of the world. Just another news update through the spirit, the power, and the vibration of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And as you just saw from those 3 different video clips, summarizes the time of Jacob's trouble. And Jacob represents you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You comprise of the 12 tribes of Israel. And according to Baruch, the 3rd chapter and the 8th verse within the Apocrypha, it stated we are yet this day in our captivity. And how the Lord, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, was going to scatter us for a reproach and a curse, which was due to our disobedience, iniquities unto the Heavenly Father Yahweh. So within these last seconds of the last days, the man of sin, which is Esau Edom via Donald Trump, is displaying his horns day by day. And a lot of you Americans, especially the ones of our people that put your hope, your trust, your votes, your time, your energy, and effort into this devil, Donald Trump, your strength within Pharaoh is going to be your shame. And the trust in the shadow of Egypt, referencing to America, is going to be your confusion. So regarding that first clip, as you saw Jake sitting in his car, He was going into about Trump made a promise to give police immunity from prosecution. And with that notion, he froze the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. And this particular division is responsible for prohibiting discrimination on the basis of race, disability, religion, sex, and national origin. So by Donald Trump promising, in his words, we're going to give our police their power back, which is by giving them immunity from prosecution. That's the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai sharpening his sword, which is Esau Edom on that left-hand side, and it's going to be extended out onto you hard-headed, stiff-necked, undisciplined Jates, which again, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and especially you YNs, what you all classify yourselves as in this day of time as young niggas. And you see that type of dysfunctional spirit and behavior, especially upon these young Jates on social media, of these different videos go viral of Jake arguing with the police, not doing what the police told them to do, and getting pulled out the vehicle and getting bashed in the head, or even worse. And our Lord and Savior, Yahushua, gave us the play on how to agree with your adversary, and on how to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, which is vital information that 2/3 of our people on this side, they reject. So therefore, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is going to reject you by offering you up unto the man of sin himself. And that's when he's going to come down with that great sword on 2/3 of our people. And that takes me right to the book of Psalm 64:2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. And that's referencing to this secret society, this shadow government, or the hosts of the high ones, who are not playing any games about forging this one world government. And a major part of the NWO is going to be a great ethnic cleansing upon you Israelites, which is going to be mass casualties. Because one of their mottos or themes for the NWO is expect no mercy. So hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And here's the point. Who whet their tongue like a sword. And when you whet something, that means that you're stimulating it, you're arousing it, you're sharpening it. Hence Esau's draconian executive orders. And these draconian measures are not within the best interests of you Israelites. And that's because the secret counsel of the wicked, they know exactly who you are according to the Bible. And they want something that you inherit, which is the blessing, the birthright, aka the kingdom of heaven. And they're going to go out with all means in order to obtain that blessing or that birthright. So who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. So within that next clip, as you saw the Northern Kingdom Jake, he was going into how Trump is using the Mexican cartel to draw in conflict between the United States and Mexico, which is the same game that Esau has been running for centuries, which is the divide and conquer method. So with that notion, he can win over more American people by targeting a major Northern Kingdom country, which is Mexico. And like the Northern Kingdom Jake stated, once they put U.S. boots upon the grounds of Mexico and the consequences of that leads to American casualties, then that stigma is going to be placed upon these so-called Hispanics within America by the American people. And we have seen this numerous times within Esau's propaganda machine, which is another extension of his blessing, which is the sword. And he will place that public disapproval or that evil reputation upon this particular nation of whose natural resources that they have their eyes upon. Hence the so-called Arabs, who are the biblical Ishmaelites. And not too long ago, we saw another example concerning the so-called Chinese, the biblical Moabites, and how they were to blame for the so-called C-19 pandemic, which was all through Esau's propaganda machine. And that takes me right to a point right here within this article from businessinsider.com. And the title says, Trump says he could send U.S. special operators after Mexican drug cartels. It could make things a lot worse. And this article was published on January the 25th, 2025. Trump world is kicking around the idea of sending special operations forces into Mexico to combat drug cartels. There's a risk these operations could make things worse, experts said. While designating Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations on Monday, President Donald Trump was asked by reporters whether he would consider sending U.S. Special Operations personnel to Mexico. Could happen, the president said, noting that stranger things have happened. And here's the point. Experts on the cartels and warfare said that sending any military troops into Mexico risks stirring instability, which could then spill over the border into U.S. territory. And what did that Northern Kingdom Jake state within that second clip of this video? How Donald Trump is utilizing the Mexican cartel to draw in conflict between the two nations. Because these different drug cartels around the world, especially these Northern Kingdom drug cartels, they are all within the back pockets and doing the biddings of the elites. So again, experts on the cartels and warfare said that sending any military troops into Mexico risks stirring instability. And what does it say within Habakkuk, the second chapter, about this particular individual, Esau Edom? How his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, and how he transgressed by wine. He is a proud man, neither keep it at home. And he enlarged his desire as hell and as death, and how he cannot be satisfied. And it goes into how he has plummeted and spoiled many nations, all due to his so-called democracy. And if Donald Trump do orders the U.S. military to set boots within Mexico, that's going to create an order out of chaos situation, which is all designed by the so-called powers that be. How they create or find an order from a state of disorder or confusion. And what did Yahushua state within Luke, the 12th chapter and the 49th verse? I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? So by the time frame that Yahushua returns, it's going to be literally hell on earth. And it's going to be so ignited, turbulent, chaotic, and disorderly before Yahushua dethrones Esau and takes his rightful throne. And it says right here, I don't think that the American people have the stomach for what's going to happen if we start messing around down there, a senior active duty special operator told Business Insider, speaking on condition of anonymity because he wasn't authorized to speak to the media. But according to Proverbs, it stated how a man's going is of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. And also linking up with another end-time biblical prophecy within the book of Psalm, the 64th chapter and the 8th verse, how they should make their own tongues to fall upon themselves, which goes into these different truthers or whistleblowers who sit at the tables of these so-called powers that be, and they know about these different secret agendas, plans, plots, and schemes or devices that the so-called powers that be have planned for the world. And now the Lord is putting the spirit upon these so-called whistleblowers or truthers to spill the beans. And with that being said, everything is being revealed of what was happening within the dark of this so-called shadow government or secret society. And now everything is coming out to the light. And it says right here, just throwing any military mechanism at this problem for the purpose of just killing cartel leaders is not going to change anything. He said, it's only going to make things worse. And again, this is a method of deception and manipulation that's called ordo ab chaos, which is the Latin expression for order out of chaos. And it's a motto of the 33rd degree Freemasonry, which again proves what Yahushua stated within Luke 12 and 49, I am come to send fire upon the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? So therefore it's going to be so disorganized, chaotic, turbulent by the time frame Yahushua returns. So again, making that point of the second clip within this video of that Northern Kingdom Jake, and he was going into how Donald Trump is utilizing the Mexican cartel to draw in conflict between the U.S. and Mexico, which is nothing but a divide and conquer method. And by Esau utilizing one of his left-handed swords, which is his propaganda machine, mainstream news or media, that notion alone will pedestalize Trump more into the eyes of these American people. Like paint him as a bigger hero by getting rid of the so-called bad guys, hence these drug cartels. And if anything does happen to these American soldiers, then the so-called Hispanics over here within America, they're going to get ostracized within this American society, which is going to bring a lot of you powerful so-called Hispanics and also Latinos as well to the reality that you and the so-called Negroes have the same common enemy, which is the biblical Edomites. Because a lot of you worldly, powerful Northern Kingdom tribes, you actually think that you are better or more privileged than the so-called Negroes within America, but still ignorant to the fact that you are still subjugated unto the biblical curses of the true Israelites. And that takes me right to Jeremiah 50:33. Thus said the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel, and the children of Israel in this sense is referring to you Northern Kingdom tribes, which are you so-called Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and also Seminole Indians. And the children of Judah, which is referencing to the Southern Kingdom tribes, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, or the so-called Negroes. We're oppressed together. And when someone is oppressed, that means that you are treated in a cruel or unfair way, like you're subdued and very pressed in the spirit. And it only made sense how Yahweh Bahashim Al-Shah put the spirit upon this previous presidential administration, hence the Biden administration, to work on their minds and to open the borders, which allow a lot of you Northern Kingdom tribes to flow into the U.S. territory. And that's all to fulfill end-time biblical prophecies, because the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed or subdued or treated unfairly or persecuted or abused together. And that sounds like trouble, which is a time of Jacob's trouble. And it says right here, and all that took them captives held them fast, they refused to let them go. Just like Pharaoh back in ancient Egypt, because whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. So therefore there is no new thing under the sun. And that same spirit of Pharaoh being very rigorous, intimidating, and persecuting the biblical Israelites is no coincidence with the new Pharaoh within the new spiritual Egypt, referencing to Esau Edom within America, the new spiritual Egypt. So on that last clip, you saw that Eve, she's probably like an attorney or something, and she stated how it's a lot of so-called Black American citizens and military veterans are getting detained by ICE, which is the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And this federal law enforcement agency was ordered by Trump last week, and they've been going on massive raids of detaining illegal immigrants. And it's being reported now how ICE has been detaining indigenous people. But going back to Eve's statement at the beginning, how she had a colleague that was born in America but just had a Jamaican ancestry, her and her son still got detained by ICE. And you so-called Black Americans supposed to be backed by the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. In the 14th Amendment, it guaranteed citizenship, equal protection, and due process to all Americans, including formerly enslaved people, which are you so-called Negroes. So again, the 14th Amendment is supposed to grant citizenship to all people born or naturalized in the United States. And according to the prayer of Azariah 1:9, it goes into how thou didst deliver us into the hands of lawless enemies. And that main lawless enemy is Esau Edom, who are the most hateful forsakers of the Most High, and how he's an unjust king. So Trump definitely has to be that evil ruler. And the Lord is arousing him in the spirit to come down upon our people with great wrath. And like how I stated earlier, these so-called powers that be, that stem from the tabernacle of Esau Edom, they know exactly who we are as a people. It's just a vast majority of our people that do not know who they are, according to the Bible. And they want to obtain what's inherited unto us, which is the divine birthright, the blessing, the kingdom of heaven. And what did Esau say when our forefather Isaac passed? The days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. And Trump is definitely about to come tyrannical. And that takes me right to Isaiah 10:5, or Assyrian, and the modern day Assyrian is referencing to the tabernacle of Esau Edom. The rod of my anger, and a rod is a staff or a cane, or it can be likened unto a lash, all used for corporal punishment that's going to be extended out unto his vessel with dishonor, Esau Edom. So Assyrian, the rod of my anger, and the staff in their hand is my indignation, which goes into the Most High's righteous anger that's going to be upon his vessel of wrath for destruction, Esau Edom. I will send him against a hypocritical nation, and that's speaking about 2/3 of the nation of Israel, that have made a covenant with death, and they want to uphold this continuing city, which is ultimately Esau's reign on the earth. So I will send him against a hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge, to take the spoil and to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. And let's get right quick, Jeremiah 15:1. Thus said the Lord Yahweh unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward this people. And that's referencing to the rejects of the nation of Israel, who are considered as the 2/3. They're likened unto their dross, which is their unwanted necessary metals. And what do you do with dross? You burn it, you discard it away, which is exactly how Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua is going to do upon 2/3 of the nation of Israel that are willfully disobedient unto him in this day of time. And it says, yet my mind could not be toward this people, cast them out of my sight, and let them go forth. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus said the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, such as for death to death, and such as for the sword to the sword, and such as for the famine to the famine, and such as for the captivity to the captivity. And wouldn't that be considered another form of captivity of this federal law enforcement agency that's called ICE, detaining so-called Black American citizens and also military veterans? And that sounds like a great measure of distress, anxiety, pain, difficulty, problems, trouble, which we are indeed in the time of Jacob's trouble. And that takes me right to Daniel 12:1. And at that time, should Michael, which is one of the archangels that's coming back with Yahushua, stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, referring to the elect of the nation of Israel, who are considered as the Israel of the Most High. And there should be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, every one that should be found written in the book. So again, it's going to be so much trouble that's going on within this earthly realm that Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua is going to dispatch Michael the archangel, and to be like a succor or a reinforcement in our great deal of trouble, hardships, and distress. So I put those clips together through the Spirit just to summarize. We are definitely indeed in a time of Jacob's trouble. And since we as the biblical Israelites, or Jacob, had the effect upon the world, it's really going to be everybody's trouble. Because the man of sin, when he brings forth his wrath, he's not going to spare anyone. Remember, he's trying to bring forth an era of shock events. And that's going to include mass casualties upon this earth. And do not get it twisted. The so-called powers that be eyes are definitely set upon you biblical Israelites, because it's all about obtaining that birthright or blessing at the end of the day. So that concludes the lesson. Buckle up in the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, because we are definitely within some turbulent, chaotic, and lawless times. So with that, hopefully you all was edified, you all stay strong, keep pushing forward. Shalom.